I can say we're moving forward safely, back to a more normal routines.
President Biden addresses the coronavirus pandemic during his first State of the Union as his administration unveils a new plan to keep the virus under control.
COVID-19 no longer need control our lives.
Plus, a Colorado lawmaker refusing to apologize for interrupting the president during his speech.
I know.
People who lost everything in the Marshall Fire are getting help with the rebuilding process.
To build something similar to what we lost to the codes, it would be about an additional $20,000.
And you can start planning that summer camping trip. Camping reservations open today at Rocky Mountain National Park. Breaking news at 11, a former Loveland police officer has pleaded guilty to assaulting a woman with dementia. Body cam video shows Austin Hopp pushing Karen Garner up against a police vehicle and pushing her to the ground. This happened in June 2020. As you'll recall, Hopp will be sentenced in May. Another former officer charged has pleaded not guilty. She'll be back in court next month. Garner and her family settled for $3 million with the department last fall. We'll have more on this story coming up tonight on Denver 7 News at 5. New at 11, the Biden administration is signaling the U.S. is in a new phase in the fight against COVID. Mask mandates and restrictions are loosening across the country. Last night, everyone in Congress was maskless during the State of the Union. As Rena Roy reports, the new plan is designed to keep the country headed in the right direction.
In a maskless chamber during his State of the Union address Tuesday night, President Biden saying the U.S. is now entering a new phase in the coronavirus pandemic.
And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives.
Biden and his COVID response team laying out a plan to move forward, including more free rapid tests for Americans starting next week and a new test to treat program.
To provide individuals access to testing and treatment for free, all in one stop. Hundreds of one-stop sites will open across the country this month.
Federal health officials also keeping an eye on new variants, saying they'll be prepared to administer a variant-specific dose within 100 days if needed.
I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does.
As new daily cases and deaths continue decreasing across the country, more areas easing restrictions. Some New York school districts dropping mask mandates today.
I know a lot of people are anti-mask, so at this point, they can do whatever they want. But I'm going to keep my mask on.
I think we need a bit longer with the mask mandate. I truly think it's not a good idea to lift it, given the fact that some people are still unvaccinated, especially elementary school children. It's just not responsible to do so.
COVID-related hospitalizations are at their lowest point since the Omicron surge began, but hospitalization rates amongst children under 4 are at a pandemic high. The White House also plans to send 475 million vaccine doses to over 100 countries in hopes of increasing the global vaccination rate and preventing future variants of concern. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
The president also unveiling a new plan to boost the economy, fight inflation, and lower costs. His 4-point plan includes making more goods in the U.S., reducing everyday costs like prescription drugs and childcare. He also wants to promote fair competition to lower prices and eliminate barriers to well-paying jobs. Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert is getting a lot of attention this morning for her outburst during the president's speech last night. And Denver 7's Colette Bordelon joins us now with more on that. Colette.
That's right, Russell. It happened during a very tense moment when President Biden was talking about troops in Iraq or Afghanistan who come home forever changed. As he was saying, many veterans come back with cancer that could lead to a flag-draped coffin. That's when Boebert yelled right before Biden was about to say his son was one of those soldiers.
13.
That is hard to hear, but the yelling drew boos from Democrats. She blamed Biden for the 13 service members who were killed in Afghanistan. Afterwards, she tweeted saying she couldn't stay silent and, quote, "Our heroic servicemen and women deserve so much better." In another tweet, she says Democrats are upset because a speech was interrupted and to ask the families who lost their loved ones how interrupted their lives are now. She doubled down again in a video she posted on Twitter.
America deserves a strong leader, someone who would represent America's strength and who would have solutions to the border crisis, the inflation crisis, the logistics crisis, energy crisis, drill baby drill, and the crime crisis. Sadly, Joe Biden not only ignored these crises, he is the cause of these crises.
We also spoke with Colorado Congressman Jason Crow after the State of the Union. The veteran had harsh words for his fellow representative, Boebert.
We've known for a very long time that Lauren Boebert doesn't know what she's doing. During a moment where the president was trying to honor our fallen as the commander-in-chief, a very somber moment that both Republicans and Democrats were recognizing and reflecting on. She took it upon herself to sow politics and try to interrupt the president's speech, which was entirely inappropriate.
We've been covering the State of the Union all morning. You can find out more about President Biden's address along with fact checks of his statement right now on thedenverchannel.com.
All right. Thanks a lot, Colette.
Of course.
Appreciate it. The president is also hitting the road. Less than 24 hours after giving his State of the Union address, he'll be at the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin today to promote his bipartisan infrastructure law. In his address, Biden said the bill should help to repair 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges this year alone. The war in Ukraine is sending oil prices above $110 a barrel. Russia is the world's second largest producer of oil, and the fear is the war will send gas prices soaring. OPEC is considering increasing oil production by 400,000 barrels a day starting next month. The coalition has been adding oil every month since last July as demand for gas increases. And yesterday, the U.S. and other allies agreed to release 60 million barrels of oil from the strategic reserves. Ukraine's state of emergency service says more than 2,000 civilians have been killed during the Russian invasion. Ukraine says some houses, hospitals, and transportation infrastructure have been destroyed in the past 7 days. These maps show just how much area is controlled by Russian troops. This map is from last Friday, and then this one from today shows troops expanding their reach in the northeast and south. There is some promising news. Russia and Ukraine will meet for a second round of peace talks tonight. Faith Abube reports.
This morning, civilians in Ukraine bracing for the worst as Russia's 40-mile military convoy slowly approaches the nation's capital. A senior U.S. official says the Russian convoy could be suffering from a lack of food and fuel, or the slowdown may be a strategic move.
When it gets to about 10 to 15 miles, then they can begin the shelling of the city that's our dread there.
Videos show Russian forces already stepping up their assault on government buildings and civilian targets. Women and children packing into a makeshift shelter in an underground parking lot as sirens warning of a potential strike blare in the port city of Odessa. West of Kyiv, a Russian cruise missile reportedly blasting a hospital and a residential neighborhood. Rescue workers running into the burning homes trying to save lives. Ukrainian officials say the explosion killed at least 4 people.
Russia is committing war crimes.
We are following it very closely. It's early to say that.
The Biden administration saying it's seeing more signs the international financial sanctions are severely impacting Russia's economy, though it's unclear if it's impacting Russian President Vladimir Putin's calculus.
We are seeing the ruble in a free fall. We are seeing the stock market in Russia has essentially closed. What we have seen is that the credit rating of Russia is now junk.
And Ukraine's former President Poroshenko tells ABC News his country needs more help on the front lines. They're pleading for more armor for their soldiers and weapons like Javelin and Stinger missiles to take down Russian helicopters and tanks. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
All right, thanks, Faith. The Marshall Fire Disaster Recovery Center in Lafayette is closing this Sunday. Anyone who needs help after that can get information online or over the phone. And today is the last day for people who had their homes damaged or destroyed in the fire to apply for grants. The grants are from FEMA or the Small Business Administration. As of this weekend, around 3,200 people have registered for help from FEMA. And the SBA has received more than 1,700 home loan applications and nearly 200 business applications as well. We have a link to apply on thedenverchannel.com. Louisville is trying to make it easier for people to rebuild after the fire. The city is working on an exemption from its new environmental building codes. Those codes were approved 1 month before the fire. Denver 7's Christian Lopez takes a closer look at the city's plan to move forward.
City Council heard around 2 hours of public comment before moving forward with this exemption for fire victims when it comes to these new building codes. At least half of the homes impacted during the Marshall fire are here in the Louisville community, and last night City Council voted to have staff draft a resolution that will give Marshall fire victims an exemption to the energy efficient building codes that went into effect in November of 2021. The building codes attempt to make all new home construction in Louisville have a net zero carbon footprint. This means fewer greenhouse gas emissions. Builders have to install things like high efficiency windows, insulation, and siding. Some residents say these things are just too expensive, while others say it's necessary steps to prevent more catastrophic fires in the future. Councilors heard from several people last night before reaching their decision.
But with having to start over without having that preparation of knowing that we were going to build with a requirement of green builds, it makes it just harder to even know what we can do moving forward.
And on Monday, the town of Superior also decided to move forward with an exemption for fire victims, allowing them to use the 2018 building codes. Reporting in Louisville, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Thanks, Christian. Still ahead, Xcel is changing the way it charges you for electricity. Plus, you can start thinking about summer. Today's the day to book your camping trip to Rocky Mountain National Park.